Though I've only seen it a couple of times, this slasher film I'm about to review is turning 35 today. Because I've got something to say. You have the right to remain silent forever. Here's my review of Maniac Cop. Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. My name is Dual, better known to as the Big D, and this time around I bring to you a review of the 1988 action slasher flick, Maniac Cop. Produced by Shapiro Glickenhaus Entertainment. Directed by William Lustig. Starring Tom Atkins, Bruce Campbell, Laurene Landon, Richard Roundtree, William Smith, Robert Z'Dar, and Sherry North. Z'Dar plays the title character, a murderous ex-police officer returned from the dead and seeks revenge on the people who wronged him. This would be the first of a surprise trilogy. And it became a, well, how should I say, a cult classic and what have you. Now, anyway, the film was actually released on this day today, May 13th, 1988. Henceforth, today is the film's 35th anniversary. Anyway, now I'm not going to give too much of the story away. So, we start out in New York City where a waitress is on her way home and being assaulted by two muggers and seeks aid from a police officer who breaks her neck. Over the next two nights, this maniac cop commits more murders, prompting Lieutenant McCrae, who was told by his superiors to suppress eyewitness accounts that the killer was wearing a police uniform, to pass on information to a journalist in an attempt to protect civilians. This causes panic and dissent among the city and results in innocent patrolmen either being shot to death or avoided on the streets by people being afraid, well, of, because they think that might be the maniac cop. Ellen Forrest, suspecting that her husband Jack may be the maniac cop, follows him to a hotel and catches him in bed with a fellow officer. Distraught, she runs out of the room and is slain by the killer. Jack is arrested under the suspicion of murder, but McCrae believes Jack has been framed. McCrae gets Jack to tell him about his relationship with the fellow officer, Teresa Mallory, who was attacked by the maniac cop while working undercover as a prostitute. And so, Mallory and McCrae fight off the killer, who is deathly cold even through his gloves, and does not appear to breathe. When they shoot him several times, the killer appears unfazed. Yep. And soon, later on, McCrae follows Sally Noland, who he was investigating. The only person Mallory told about her affair, while hiding out in McCrae's apartment. McCrae follows Noland to a warehouse where she meets with the maniac cop and refers to him as Matt. McCrae discovers files on Matthew Cordell, an officer who was unjustly imprisoned in Sing Sing for police brutality and closing in on corruption in City Hall. He was mutilated and killed in a shower room in Sing Sing by other inmates, whom he helped incarcerate. So anyway, that's all of the story I'm going to give to you. I will not give you no more of the story, no ending spoilers either. So I do apologize, but you're just going to have to see the movie. Because this film did fine and what have you. It made $671,000 worldwide against, well, its budget of $1 million. And would be followed by two sequels, which I'll review those later on down the road. Now, it's gotten some good and mixed and what have you. Now, Bruce Campbell said of the film that it was not a good movie, but it initially struck him as perfectly legit. Now, Rotten Tomatoes currently has it at 53%, but the film was critically dissed and what have you at the time. Variety called it a disappointing thriller that wastes an oddball premise. The New York Times called it an amateurish film with stiff acting and dialogue. And the LA Times wrote that the film quickly becomes an interesting Friday the 13th clone. Boy, oh boy. Time Out of London criticized it as formulaic and said that it might have been better had the writer and producer of the film directed himself. The Washington Post called the script undernourished and obvious. However, when reviewing the film, it was released on Blu-ray by Synopsis Films. Let's see. Yes. Twitch Film wrote that despite its faults, Maniac Cop deserves mention as one of the last grindhouse films set in New York City. And DVD Verdict called it a fun, mindless gore fest. And DVD Talk called it one of the era's finest forgotten gems. And so on. I will say that it's good in some ways. Now, while the story isn't too bad, and it's scored by Jay Chadway's fine and all, I still feel like this is a wee bit underrated, but still a pretty good film, having some pretty good kills. Now, for our cast, we have Bruce Campbell, who you know best from some of Sam Raimi's work, like the Evil Dead films and his cameos in the Spider-Man trilogy, and other stuff he did, as well as TV's Burn Notice. He plays Officer Jack W. Forrest Jr. Tom Atkins, who a lot of you know him best from Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, as well as The Fog, the original that is, plays Lieutenant McCrae. Laurene Landon played Officer Mallory. Robert Z'Dar played the Maniac Cop. Richard Roundtree, you know him best as the original Shaft, played Commissioner Pike. Now, actually, Sam Raimi does appear in this, but he's uncredited though. He plays a news reporter. So anyway, I will say it's not too bad. Anyway, now the film was released on video cassette numerous times. It was first released on DVD in 1998 by Elite Entertainment and included commentary from William Lustig, the director, Larry Cohen, who was the writer and producer of the film, Bruce Campbell, and composer Jay Chadway, as well as a trailer and additional scenes not shown in the movie. Now, 8.5 years later, it got released on DVD by Synopsis Films and included the film restored and remastered with a DTS soundtrack. 5 years later, it would be released on Blu-ray by the same company. Now, I don't have that, but I've only watched this film on Tubi. I watched it for the first time on there last year, along with the sequels, and I rewatched it on there again before I decided to do a review of this. Anyway, I will say Maniac Cop is absolutely pretty good. Sure, it may not be one of the most memorable slashers and what have you, but overall, I find it to be pretty good because I like the setting of New York and what have you, and you can't go wrong with the performances of Tom Atkins or Bruce Campbell. No, sir. They were both really, really good. Definitely. Anyway, let me see. Trying to check. Yes. Now, Bruce Campbell, along with Robert Z'Dar and Laurene Landon would return for the sequel released a couple of years later in Maniac Cop 2, and the third film followed 3 years later in Maniac Cop 3, Badge of Silence. So, with a pretty good cast and what have you, and a decent score, and not too bad for kills, and all that stuff you could get from any slasher, would I recommend Maniac Cop? I would say, sure, go ahead. I mean, if you're into Tom Atkins or Bruce Campbell, then I think you'll really like this film. But just to be on the safe side, if you're not too well, if this isn't ringing any bells with you, and if you're just curious, then I'd say give it a one-time watch. So my verdict for Maniac Cop, it's a draw between give it a one-time watch and sure go ahead. So anyway, Maniac Cop, check it out. And as I've said already, I will review the sequels later on in the future. So, what did you think of Maniac Cop? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Join me next time when I bring to you my review of Alien Resurrection. So, I do hope y'all enjoyed this, and if you did, you may want to check out some of these other slashers and what have you. If you like, go to the upper left hand corner and see my re-review of Friday the 13th from 1980, or go to the upper left hand corner and see my spoiler free review of Scream 6 from earlier this year, or if you would like something else, go to the bottom left hand corner and see my review for The Evil Dead from 1981, which of course Bruce Campbell starred in. In the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe. If you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc., then I'm your guy. Thanks for watching. Oh, yeah, and I know there's a new Evil Dead out now called Evil Dead Rise, but when it gets released on physical media, mind you, I will review that later on. I promise. Well, I'll try and promise. Okay, that about covers it. So until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.